What's the favorite story you've ever reported on? You have one that sticks out?
Like a beautiful story?
No, just something that you're... One that is like the top of the heap. Doesn't have to be like your absolute favorite, but just one that has stuck with you over time.
Well, because I mostly report on negative things, when people ask me like, what's your favorite story you've reported on? I'm not like, oh, the time I like rode this pony and it turned into a unicorn, because I'm not covering that type of stuff. But the most impactful story I ever reported on was of the murder of a little girl, an 8-year-old girl in Alberta. She was murdered by her stepmom, and her body was disposed of by the stepmom's sugar dad, because she was staying with the stepmom while her father was in jail. And she was really, really cute, and actually has the same name of my childhood best friend. And so the way that I got into this story was, this little girl was missing. But the police didn't put out that she was missing. It was her grandmother. And her grandmother said, I think the grandmother lived on the reservation, and then the little girl lived in the city with the stepmom. And she goes, we haven't seen her for a while, if anyone has any information. About a few weeks later, it comes out that like, okay, everything is like scrubbed from the internet. Something is wrong. So it turns out that this little girl was being like very badly abused by her stepmom. And the stepmom smashed the little girl's head into the wall so hard that the hole led into the other room. And then the neighbor who the stepmom used to do drugs with heard the commotion, ran over, saw the little girl all bloodied on the ground, and told her that she needs to like revive her because she's gonna murder her. And so she got a bike pump and shoved it down her throat and tried to like do that, and then called her sugar dad to come pick up the body, wrapped it in a hockey bag, and dumped it in the back of a truck on a reservation. And then they held like some fucking vigil for her. But I was like, and I was talking to the family that I went to court to try to, we have a publication ban thing, so because it's a minor, to protect the identity of the siblings, whatever, you can't report on the name, which I thought was bullshit, because it just seemed like this little girl who had no one that cared about her, and then she was murdered in such a brazen and awful way. And when I went to the location of her murder, the apartment building, well, I wasn't going to be let in until the groundskeeper turned out to be this Polish guy. So I'm like in Polish, like, let me in. And he's like, I'm just going to walk in and you can follow me. I'm not going to turn around. The door's going to open. And I remember when I stood outside the door and the fingerprinting dust was all over, and I wanted to talk to some neighbors, and one of the neighbors was like, I heard that little girl screaming all the time, and I wanted to fucking lose it. And something switched in that moment where I was like, I don't know, I just deeply have cared for this little girl. And I talked about her once before, and someone said that, well, you're keeping her alive, which is the goal here, because I really wish the story didn't end like that. And then I was going to court to cover, the case of the stepmom, who's probably going to get no time in jail.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I don't know what the status of it is right now. It should take so fucking long in Canadian courts. But, and she was just like, when I saw the stepmom in court, like, I don't know. That was an evil person. That was a bad person.
They exist.
And I've come face to face with people who have murdered people before and, done bad things, but...
There's a difference between people who have killed and people who are evil.
Yeah. And that was the first time I realized that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've encountered a few people that are legitimately evil. And you're like, whoa. You and I are not the same thing.
No. Yeah. At all.
Yeah, you can see it, you can feel it, you can almost taste it and touch it. Like, okay. Yeah.
We are not cut from the same fucking cloth.
For sure.
And I just felt so bad for this kid. I don't know how to explain it. It was weird. It was like
I get it.
A weird process for me during this time too, because I was covering it like all day long. And then I would walk home from work. I lived in downtown, so it was just, from the newsroom to my apartment. And then I would get home and like watch a show, like make my dinner, whatever, have a glass of wine and go to bed. By the time I would like lay down in bed, I would realize that I was on autopilot, not processing the whole walk from home to at home, like doing all this, going to the gym, blah, blah, blah. I was out. I was not even conscious of anything. And I was like, oh my God, because I was thinking about her the whole fucking time. Yeah. And then I'm talking to family members who are trying to raise money, but like they're not, it's like, tell me about this little girl. So when I report on her, I can like, tell me about her legacy. How do you want people to remember her? Oh, you know, she's just a fun, sweet girl. And it's like, fucking give me something. Like, did you even love her? And I feel bad because obviously the family probably went through trauma. Of course, this is very traumatic. And if they ever listen to my stuff, they're probably going to think I'm this big bitch and who do I think I am? But it was just so, I don't know. It was really frustrating. I was really pissed off. I felt really bad for the kid. And yep. I cried a lot for her. It was my first really big child murder that I could already foresee was not going to get any justice. And when I went, it seemed like everyone was against her, or it seemed like everyone was against proper justice, because the family lied to me about what the dad was in jail for. And then, like, what the fuck? What are you lying to me? I'm not a cop. And he's already in jail. And then when I went to try to get rid of the publication ban, and it was my first time ever doing that, where I like had to stand up in front of the judge and be like, these are my reasons. Let's cut this out. The Crown prosecutor corners me in the elevator and is like, I don't know who you think you are, but like, you're just a bitch. Like just some, you know, whose dick is bigger type of thing. And I'm like, can we not understand that a little girl was violently murdered? We should all have a common goal here, which is get cold, hard justice. Not, I don't know, whatever the hell that was. It was horrible. It was so bad. And it was just really bad. That was the worst story. But that was the most memorable one.
At least you were a voice for somebody who didn't have one.
Yeah, but she's dead. It's just not the same. And, you know, that's what I would think about all the time, was the way she was killed fucked me up. Yeah. Because I would literally like, it's called something, the therapist told me, when you put yourself in their shoes so you can like feel like this level of anxiety that some shit like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much I believe it, but I would think about what it felt like for her to just be getting pummeled by this large woman who looks like fucking Ursula, and knowing that you're screaming for help and no one is coming. Your dad's in jail. Your extended family lives far away. You've been screaming and your neighbors aren't coming. Like, what? She was 8 years old, man.
Well, you know what they say, you die twice. Once when you finally die, and then the second time was when the last time somebody says your name. So you're helping keep her alive in that respect.
Oh, yeah, I will never stop with that. That shit was horrible.